Welcome back to Morning Joe, a live picture on a Wednesday morning of the United States Capitol at 8:34 in the morning. Casey Hunt, Mike Barnicle, Eddie Glaude, all back with us. And joining us now are former U.S. Attorneys General Loretta Lynch and Alberto Gonzales. Together, they now lead a new National Commission on COVID-19 and Criminal Justice, which will assess the pandemic's impacts on the criminal justice system and develop a roadmap for immediate and long-term reforms to better balance public health and public safety. Welcome to you both. We appreciate you being here. Attorney General Lynch, I'll begin with you. I looked down the list of people on this panel, and it is judges like yourselves, attorneys general, but also mayors and police chiefs and public health officials. So how do you describe this initiative? What are you trying to get at exactly?
Well, good morning, Willie. Thank you so much for having us on and bringing a light to this important issue. We're trying to focus on the systemic inequalities that are coming to the surface in our criminal justice system. This pandemic has hit every system of our life in an incredibly difficult way. But frankly, the criminal justice system is really buckling under the strain. Long-standing problems are coming to the surface. And these are problems that are not just limited to what's happening in court, in jail. They affect the way in which we think about criminal justice, the way in which we police, the way in which we prosecute, how we incarcerate people. And because these issues and concerns are long-standing and have been simmering, they span not just administrations, but generations. And so we're hoping to take a nonpartisan look at these issues and bring some guidance and some expertise, some statistics and data to the people who are struggling with these issues and working to make our criminal justice system more efficient, but also more fair.
So, Attorney General Gonzales, what's a good example for our viewers to sink their teeth into here about something that was there, but perhaps has been brought to light by the COVID-19 crisis and something you all are trying to solve here?
Well, good morning, first of all, thank you. And it's a pleasure to be involved in this effort with AG Lynch, who I respect, and have welcomed the opportunity to work with her and a distinguished panel of members on this commission to deal with I think, a very important issue. I think the criminal justice system is one that, of course, is not perfect, but the fact that we can never reach perfection doesn't mean that we shouldn't at least try to do better. And the purpose of this commission is to identify the effects of the pandemic upon our criminal justice system and hopefully relying upon the expertise of the other members of the commission, come up with possible solutions and recommendations to make things better. And both AG Lynch and I care very much about our criminal justice system. And we know that there are problems, and those problems have been exacerbated by the pandemic. And we feel an obligation to try to be helpful and lending our voice to try to make improvements here.
So, Attorney General Lynch, how about for you? What's an example of what's one issue of criminal justice that you think has had a light shined on it because of this crisis, and how do we do better with it?
Well, look, I have to say, when we've already been talking about the rising rates of incarceration in our country, and certainly we have to hold people accountable, but we have always worked and fought to try and do it in a way that really reflects not just their liability, but our values as a society. And as we look at the rising rates of incarceration, combine that with a pandemic that has been ripping through our correctional systems, it has exposed inequalities in our healthcare system. It has exposed inequalities in our criminal justice system from the beginning. We have individuals who are essentially moving through the system that is now frozen. How do we really mete out justice when the courthouse is literally closed? How do we police effectively when people can't interact even with their neighbors or the community organizations that are such an important part of violence reduction strategy? So this pandemic has highlighted the need to have essentially an all-hands-on-deck effort at reducing crime, preventing incarceration, making incarceration something that works for our system and moves people through the process, not lets them sit stagnant in the process.
Attorney General Lynch, Eddie Glaude Jr. has a question for you. Eddie.
AG Lynch, thank you for this commission, and along with AG Gonzales. I have a question. We know that there are protests in the streets, claims, demands to defund the police, claims around what's happening in prisons and jails. But we recently heard your colleague, Attorney General Barr, say before Congress that he doesn't believe that there's a systemic problem of racism throughout our policing communities. What do you say to that? As you think about this commission's work, do you agree with Attorney General Barr that there's not a problem of systemic racism in policing in this country? Or do you hold the view that, in fact, there is, and that part of the commission's work is to address this inequality in how policing and criminal justice takes place in the country?
Well, thank you for that, Professor. Look, I think that we're all grappling with the way in which systemic racism throughout our society has been highlighted by recent months. Look, I know from experience that the criminal justice system is populated by many people who are striving to do the right thing and striving to bring fairness and equality to a system. But I also know that that's a difficult thing when you are operating within a system that has inherited processes, methods of doing business, and frankly has drawn from the greater society in terms of how it views certain people, how it treats certain people, and frankly how it dehumanizes certain people. And these tend to be people of color who move through the criminal justice system. I've seen that throughout my 20 years as a prosecutor. So we have to address the issue of systemic racism, not just in our criminal justice system, but throughout our society and how it impacts that system. And we can do it in a way that recognizes the harms that it brings to all of us. And that's everyone. Everyone. If the system is not fair, then no one has faith in it. And we're all the poorer for that. And we can do that in a way that addresses those issues and tries to find solutions for the problem. And I think it's really important that we think about this pandemic as a marathon and not a sprint. It's already lasted months. It will last for months more. We all want to get back to normal. But what we've seen in so many areas of life is that normal wasn't working for us. And so we've got to deal with these issues, and we've got to deal with the issues of systemic racism throughout our society. Frankly, it harms all of society.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.